Have you ever spent a quiet Sunday alone at your place? Just completely by yourself?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, for the first few hours, it feels incredible.
Right. You're in your sweatpants, the world is quiet, nobody needs anything from you.
Best feeling in the world.
It is. But then, usually around mid-afternoon, something shifts.
Yeah, that quietness changes.
Exactly. The silence stops feeling relaxing and starts feeling really, well, heavy. Or even sad. It's almost like this creeping sadness is physically filling up the room.
That is such a common experience.
To me, that specific heavy feeling is exactly like staring at a smartphone. Like watching the screen stay dark, just waiting for a message that never comes.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
Right. You're holding this device that connects you to the whole world. But in that quiet room, it just turns into a miserable reminder that no one is reaching out to you.
Yeah, that creeping sadness is just a universally recognized weight.
It really is.
And that shift you're describing, from enjoying the quiet to suddenly feeling crushed by it, is the exact psychological pivot we are unpacking in today's deep dive.
And we found a really interesting framework for understanding this shift, right? It's hiding in a very unexpected place.
Yes, it really is. So today's source material is actually an audio script designed for English language learners.
Wait, really? Like an ESL lesson?
Literally an English lesson. It's titled Finding Peace in Being Alone, and it features a simple dialogue between two characters, Kelvin and Marcia.
Okay, so on the surface, it's just two characters talking about a lonely afternoon to teach some vocabulary.
Exactly. But if you look beneath the grammar in the simple words, there is a profound masterclass on how human beings process isolation.
I love that.
Right. And today, our mission is to explore how simply changing the words we use to describe being by ourselves can fundamentally alter our emotional experience of it.
I really love when we find deep insights in unexpected places. Because reading through this source, that heavy Sunday feeling is captured perfectly.
It really is.
The source starts its breakdown by separating our experience of being alone into two completely different concepts.
Yes, two very different states of mind.
First, it starts with loneliness. And it defines loneliness as a deeply negative, passive emotion. It's a deficit.
The passive nature of it is the core issue here, because loneliness is framed as something that just happens to you against your will.
Like an attack.
Basically, it's that acute feeling of being disconnected or feeling like you've been left out. It creates this painful illusion that everyone else in the room is having a vibrant, fun time, and you have somehow just been forgotten.
It's the pain of wanting to be with your people, but finding yourself entirely alone, and it feels awful.
It really does.
But then, the script introduces a pivot. It contrasts the heavy pain of loneliness with a different word, solitude.
Solitude, right.
And solitude is presented not as a punishment, but as a beautiful, powerful choice. It's an active state, not passive.
Right. If loneliness is a passive deficit, then solitude is an active choice to build something. The imagery used in our source for solitude is really vast and expansive.
Like what?
Well, think about the phrase, the solitude of the mountains.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that sounds peaceful.
Exactly. Mountains represent space, peace, majesty. When you choose solitude, you aren't missing anyone. The framework suggests that in true solitude, you are actively choosing to be your own best friend.
Your own best friend. I like that.
You're purposefully enjoying your own company rather than just enduring your isolation.
Okay, but let me offer a little bit of pushback here.
Sure.
Because we've all been on that couch feeling miserable. Is it really just a matter of swapping out our vocabulary?
You mean just changing the word?
Yeah. If I'm sitting there feeling completely disconnected, can simply changing the word in my head from lonely to solitude actually cure that heavy feeling?
It sounds a bit like putting a fresh coat of paint on a crumbling wall, doesn't it?
Exactly. It sounds too simple.
I know. It sounds overly simplistic until you look at the mechanics of cognitive reframing. Words are not just labels. They are the blueprints we use to build our reality.
Okay, how so?
Well, your brain is a meaning-making machine. When you tell your brain, I am lonely, it immediately interprets that as a threat.
A threat, like physical danger.
From an evolutionary standpoint, yes. Being separated from the tribe meant danger, so your brain floods your system with stress hormones. It starts frantically asking, who is missing? Why was I rejected?
Oh, so the brain treats loneliness like an actual alarm bell.
Precisely. But when you consciously use the word solitude, You are sending a totally different signal to your nervous system.
You're turning the alarm off.
Exactly. You are telling your brain this is a deliberate, safe choice. You instantly shift from being a helpless victim to being the architect of your own time.
You stop scanning the room for the people who aren't there.
And you start utilizing the peace that is actually present.
That makes a lot of sense, which moves us past just defining the words and gets into why this choice is so necessary for our biology.
Yes, the biological need for space.
The source material leans heavily into this idea of the social battery, which, by the way, might be my favorite concept we are covering today.
It's a great concept.
It discusses how constantly being around people, talking and interacting, literally drains our internal energy down to 0%.
Because the cognitive load of socializing is staggering. We use massive amounts of mental energy just navigating shared spaces.
Just by being in the room.
Yeah. When you are at a party or a busy office, your brain is constantly calculating. You are reading facial expressions, decoding tone of voice, managing social rules.
Checking if you're laughing at the right time.
Exactly. That level of continuous processing is exhausting.
It is exhausting. So, if existing in social spaces drains the battery, then solitude is the essential mechanism to recharge it.
It's a requirement, not a luxury.
The source frames this as a gift we have to give ourselves. It uses the phrase me time.
Me time.
And it gives these very grounding examples of what real me time looks like. It's not just lying in the dark staring at the ceiling.
No, definitely not.
It's taking yourself out to a quiet coffee shop to enjoy a book. Or intentionally making a really nice dinner entirely for yourself.
I love the dinner example.
The phrase they use is making a pizza for one.
The pizza for one example is brilliant because it reclaims a deeply social activity.
Right, pizza's usually for parties.
Exactly. We associate pizza with gatherings and shared experiences. By making a whole pizza just for yourself, you are turning a communal celebration into a personal celebration.
You're saying your own company is worth cooking for.
Yes, you are your own guest of honor.
But if we pull on that battery analogy a bit more, I feel like it really exposes how warped our modern priorities are.
Oh, absolutely. How do you mean?
Well, think about how you react to your smartphone. When that little battery icon hits 10% and turns red, pure panic sets in.
Oh, yeah. Total panic mode.
You intuitively drop what you're doing, dig through your bag for a cable, and scan the room for an outlet.
You have to plug it in right away.
Exactly. We prioritize our phone's energy above almost everything else. So why do we feel so incredibly guilty or hesitant to plug ourselves into solitude when our own internal social battery is flashing red?
That is a very powerful question.
Why is it so painfully hard to just say, I'm at 0%, I need to recharge?
We feel that guilt because modern society heavily equates constant availability with personal value.
If you're not reachable, you're not important.
Exactly. If you aren't immediately responding to texts or invitations, there is this deep-seated fear that you are being selfish.
We're conditioned to feel bad about taking a break.
From a very young age, yes. We ignore our own internal red battery alerts because unplugging feels like a failure to participate in society.
So if we know we're at 0% and we know solitude is the only way to recharge, how do we actually bridge that gap?
Right. How do we make the transition?
Because the instinct, when you feel that heavy Sunday loneliness, isn't usually to go bake a pizza. The instinct is to desperately look for a quick fix.
To reach out and grab onto something?
Luckily, the source material lays out very specific, actionable steps for what we might call emotional alchemy.
Turning the painful lead of loneliness into the gold of solitude.
Exactly. So let's get into the mechanics of those steps. Step 1 in this framework is brutal but necessary. Put away the phone.
So hard to do.
The source specifically warns that looking at social media, like seeing your friends at a party on Instagram, triggers immediate sadness and amplifies isolation.
Because the phone is the ultimate false promise when you are lonely.
It really is.
When that heavy feeling hits, your natural human instinct is to seek connection, and the phone offers the path of least resistance.
But it's fake connection.
It's a simulation. When you are in a vulnerable, depleted state, scrolling through social media acts as a poison.
You're just watching other people's highlight reels.
Right. You are actively inviting these highly filtered lives into your quiet space. It takes the subtle feeling of missing out and magnifies it into concrete proof that you are being left behind.
It's like pouring gasoline on the fire. But here is the real hurdle with step 1. Given how completely addicted we are to screens, isn't putting away the phone actually the most terrifying part of this process?
Oh, undeniably.
Because to achieve true solitude, we have to consciously cut off our main source of fake connection. And that leaves us face to face with the deafening silence of the room.
It is the hardest step because you have to agree to sit through the initial discomfort of withdrawal.
Like a detox.
Yes. When you put the phone away, the silence feels heavy because you are finally feeling the full weight of your exhaustion without any digital numbing agents.
You have to face the 0% battery.
But you have to clear away that digital noise to create a blank canvas. And once the screen is dark, you can move to step 2.
Which is engaging the soul with tactile hobbies.
Yes, tactile is the key word there.
The examples provided for step 2 are incredibly gentle. They suggest things like painting, gardening, or even just making a warm cup of tea and drinking it slowly.
Very simple actions.
Or, one specific example from the script suggests listening to lo-fi music while drawing.
The underlying mechanism of these gentle hobbies is fascinating.
Why do they work so well?
Well, when you are trapped in loneliness, your focus is entirely externalized. Your brain is obsessed with the people who aren't in the room.
You're living outside yourself.
Right. But by engaging in a sensory-rich hobby, feeling the warmth of a teacup, hearing the beat of lo-fi music, watching a pencil move across paper, you force your focus to become internal and present.
You're anchoring your mind to physical reality.
Exactly. Furthermore, you are creating something strictly for your own enjoyment. You are proving to your nervous system that you can generate your own joy without needing an audience.
You become the source of your own entertainment.
Precisely.
So once you've physically put the device in another room and grounded yourself with a hobby, the framework brings us to step 3.
The most important step.
Which tackles the most dangerous part of being alone, the internal monologue.
Oh yes, the inner voice.
Step 3 is about actively reframing your self-talk.
The quiet room is where the inner critic gets the loudest. When we are alone and depleted, the brain defaults to a highly catastrophic narrative.
It jumps straight to the worst-case scenario.
It whispers things like, I have no friends, or nobody cares what I'm doing today.
It is shocking how quickly we can spiral from I have no plans today to I will die completely alone.
It's a cognitive distortion born from that evolutionary panic we discussed earlier.
Right, the alarm bell.
To combat this, the framework advises consciously overriding that negative default with a healing phrase. Instead of letting the brain spin the story of I have no friends, you actively interrupt that thought.
You cut it off.
And you replace it with I'm taking a break to love myself.
I am taking a break to love myself. That completely rewrites the script of the entire afternoon.
It flips the power dynamic. You are no longer the tragic victim who was left behind.
You're someone making a healthy choice.
You are a person who recognized their battery was low and exercised the agency to take a pause for self-care.
This progression is so logical. You remove the toxic comparison by ditching the phone. You ground your body with a hobby. You interrupt the mental spiral by changing the narrative.
It's a full system reset.
But the source material doesn't stop there. It actually moves into the deep psychological conditioning needed to make this piece permanent.
Yes, the visualization exercise.
It concludes with this guided mental exercise to really lock the solitude in.
Visualization is an incredibly powerful tool for emotional regulation.
The exercise asks you to close your eyes and construct a specific setting in your mind. You imagine a beautiful, quiet, safe room, illuminated by a single warm candle.
It's a classic grounding technique.
The framework calls this space your personal corner, a sanctuary where you feel completely at peace and protected.
Focusing on a single candle draws the mind's eye to a solitary point of warmth. It physically lowers your heart rate.
It's like building an impenetrable mental fortress.
Exactly. You are shutting out the chaotic, demanding outside world.
You are building a safe room in your own mind where external pressures, like FOMO, just cannot breach the walls.
And once you are safely inside that mental fortress, the framework uses 3 specific healing affirmations to solidify this state.
The progression of these 3 affirmations is really well structured.
They walk the mind up a staircase of acceptance.
Let's go through them. The first phrase is, I am at peace with myself.
That establishes the baseline. It is a radical acceptance of your current reality. You are releasing the tension of wishing you were somewhere else.
Then the second affirmation pushes a little higher. I enjoy my own company.
This takes you from neutral acceptance to active appreciation. You are finding value in the person you are spending time with, yourself.
And then the third affirmation, which really feels like the core thesis of this entire deep dive. Being alone is my time to grow.
That is the highest level of cognitive reframing. It completely neutralizes any fear of isolation.
It gives the empty room a purpose.
True personal growth requires unobstructed space. Intentional solitude provides the exact environment necessary for that expansion.
Okay, I have to throw one final wrench into this, though.
Go for it.
Building this mental safe room and reciting these phrases sounds incredibly therapeutic in theory. But how effective is simply repeating a phrase like, I enjoy my own company, if the person saying it is sitting on their couch feeling deeply sad and doesn't believe a single word of it yet?
It feels like lying to yourself.
Rather than chanting, I am at peace when your heart is racing, just feel like pure denial.
That is the most common roadblock people hit when trying to use affirmations. It absolutely feels like lying at first.
Feels clunky and awkward.
Very unnatural. But there is a very tangible biological mechanism at play here involving neuroplasticity.
Neuroplasticity.
Yes, the brain's ability to rewire its own circuitry based on repeated experiences.
How does that actually work in the context of feeling lonely, though?
Okay, think of the neural pathways in your brain like trails in a dense forest. Every single time you sit alone and repeat the thought, I am lonely, no one cares about me, you are walking down a specific path.
You're walking it over and over.
Right. Over the years, you trample down the weeds, clear the brush, and eventually that path becomes a paved, high-speed highway.
So thought just zooms right down it.
The moment you are alone, your brain automatically shoots down that highway because it is the path of least resistance. The negative feeling happens instantly.
You've essentially optimized your brain to feel miserable the second the room gets quiet.
Exactly. Now, when you introduce a new affirmation like, I enjoy my own company, you are stepping off that paved highway.
You're going into the woods.
You are trying to bushwhack a brand new trail through the thickest part of the forest. Of course it feels unnatural.
Because there's no path there yet.
Exactly. You don't believe it because there is no established neural pathway for that thought yet. But the magic of neuroplasticity is that repetition builds infrastructure.
So the fake it till you make it sensation isn't a failure.
No, it is the physical sensation of your brain carving a new route.
The repetition itself is the mechanism of change.
Yes.
Even if it feels totally hollow on a Sunday afternoon, saying it out loud is laying down the first layer of gravel for a new road.
Over time, combined with putting the phone in another room and engaging your hands in a hobby, that new trail becomes easier to walk.
That makes so much sense.
Eventually, your brain will recognize solitude as a safe, productive environment rather than defaulting to the highway of panic.
You are literally training your nervous system to accept a new reality.
You really are.
It is a complete transformation. We started today looking at the heavy, passive weight of loneliness, that creeping sadness that turns an empty room into a prison cell.
While you stare at a dark phone screen.
Right. And through this unexpected ESL script, we explored the very real mechanics of transitioning into the empowering choice of solitude.
We examined the necessity of protecting our social batteries.
Because just existing in social spaces is exhausting.
Exactly. We looked at the physical steps required to break the cycle.
Unplugging from the toxic comparison trap of social media.
Engaging our nervous systems with tactile hobbies.
Whether that's drinking tea slowly, drawing, or cooking a whole pizza just for yourself.
And finally, using intentional self-talk and visualization to carve those new neural pathways.
Training our brains to actively recharge rather than passively panic. It really forces you to look at your own schedule and ask, what does my ideal me time actually look like?
It's an important question to ask yourself.
Because as the framework beautifully reminds us, you are never truly alone when you have yourself.
Learning to enjoy that company isn't a self-help cliche. It is a biological survival skill.
In an incredibly loud world.
The most constant companion you will ever have is your own mind. Cultivating a peaceful relationship with it is the most important investment you can make.
And as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. The next time you find yourself with an empty afternoon.
Something to ponder.
We've explored how intentional solitude is the essential mechanism for personal growth. But looking at how we live today, if true solitude is the absolute prerequisite for figuring out who we are,
Right.
could our modern society's relentless push for hyperconnectivity actually be starving us of the exact isolation we require?
Are we terrified of the silence?
Are we actively avoiding the only environment where we can actually meet ourselves?
It's a chilling thought.
It is.
Yeah.
So the next time you find yourself alone on a quiet Sunday and the silence starts to feel a little heavy, remember, You don't have to wait for a notification on a screen to feel connected.
You have the power to change the narrative.
You can choose to step off a highway of panic, light a candle in your mental fortress, and simply enjoy the solitude of the room.
You can choose to be your own best friend.
Exactly. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and we'll see you next time.